Demographic decline is a megatrend. It affects our lives, it affects many policy areas, it affects, as we heard also yesterday, prosperity, and it affects also our security. The choices we've been given, that's something to discuss with this panel. When Philippa opened this session, she said we can have either more migration, more children, or we have to accept, to say the least, economic stagnation. So this panel really is about which choices to make, and we have practitioners here. On the left is Virginia Tapscott, who is a columnist in Australia. She has founded the Parent Support Org, and she is a farmer in Australia. And there's a mysterious connection between farmers and Australia and Hack. Welcome, Virginia Tapscott. Then we have Vlatko Rochev, who is the national coordinator in North Macedonia for the issue of demographic change. He's been a politician for many years, 15 years in Parliament. And then we have Hinai Yomi from Japan, who has founded an initiative to help young people see what it means to live with children. And very successfully, these people experience the change of heart. Now, as you can see, here on this panel we have represented 3 continents, each one facing similar challenges. And I did a little research here. The birth rate of this panel is 3.25, 30 children only. So this is about choices. What do we do? I would like to start with you, Vlatko Rochev. What do we do to respond to demographic crisis?
First, we need to understand that it is an absolute priority because we're massively running out of people. People are talking all the time about the human resources, but there are no human resources without humans. So it needs to be a priority, and it needs to be among the highest echelons of the governments and the society. A couple of numbers. For instance, Japan is losing 800,000, 900,000 people per year. That is a daily loss of 2,400 people. That is like 24 airplanes going down every day. Poland is losing 430 people per day. That is like 4 airplanes going down every single day. Italy is losing 750 people, just births minus deaths. So you can't link this issue to the deputy of the assistant of the deputy to the Minister of Social Affairs. No, this needs to be an issue for the Prime Minister, for the President, for the key ministers in the government. Because literally, it is Shakespearean to be or not to be. And in Macedonia, we're doing that a lot. Between 2006 and 2016, Macedonia was the only country that increased the number of births that much, 2.3%, while many countries in Southern Europe are going down between 10 and 20%. We increased the number of third-born babies 40%. So yes, it is possible, but we need to engage. It's super important, and yeah, I mean, never give up.
So the top priority for governments or politicians. Virginia, what would you add to that?
Yeah, and I think government certainly does have a huge role to play, but we have to be careful with how much we expect government policies to do. We see countries that have, extensive childcare systems and really long paid parental leave periods, policies that we would typically think make life easier for parents and lift birth rates. Even in those countries, since around 2008, they've been unable to halt their falling birth rates. We see in Hungary, they've had an extensive campaign with pronatal policies, which have worked to an extent. They're meeting a ceiling on how effective those are. And then we have Israel, who have lead the world in their birth rate, with no real specific policy ecosystem that we can pinpoint that would cause that. And there's a very strong theory emerging that this is much more of a cultural problem than perhaps we might have expected. We have adults and young adults growing up in societies where the emphasis is very much on careers and accumulating wealth, and that's where they're directing their energies. So So I think we need to really address this from a cultural level as well, interrogate those belief systems every day. But yeah, the correct solutions can come when we have a better understanding of the interplay between policy, government and culture.
So, actually, obvious. You work with the people on the individual level. What is your experience? Tell us about Japan.
So, yeah, as Marco mentioned, Japan is in a very bad situation. 10 years ago, 1 million babies were born in Japan, but now 700,000. It is decreasing rapidly. I believe that young people think having a baby is a luxury and unrealistic option. It is only allowed for financially and emotionally secure. I think that's because they don't have emotional connection with babies. Because of urbanization, we have less sense of community and no exposure with babies in their daily lives. So they have no chance to have any motivation to start families. On the other hand, it's easy to access to negative information about parenting and family on social media. So there is no strong motivation to overcome these difficulties that they know. So as previously mentioned, my approach is help them experience a realistic dating life as parents. They can make emotional connection with babies and they can understand a realistic way to start families. These kind of personal connection and experience can be very helpful.
So we heard this morning when David Wood spoke that it needs a shift of hearts. We could call this culture change. Now, in your experience in working with these young people, that you really have a shift of heart and does it then change culture?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
So actually it is very interesting that for most of the participants of our program, I have no experience to interact with babies until they join our program. So they say that they're very nervous when they join the program because they don't know how to communicate with them. But after the program, they say that they find that they understand that it's very rewarding to become a parent. It is their first time to have emotional connection with babies. So it is a kind of huge change that they can kind of gain. However, they gain confidence to become a parent.
That's what in North Estonia, you've been quite successful with your work. Do you see a culture change and what would you tell all of us? How can we contribute to a change in culture?
There is no one single measure you can do that. You need to do 20, 30 measures, and then on the surface are not harmful measures, but they are actually. So you need to give all the possible incentives, child credit benefit, you need to work with education, you need to work with the media, and so on and so forth. So nowadays, for a baby to be born, it needs to be born here, and it needs to be born here. So we literally need to touch the hearts and minds of the young generation. Between 2006 and 2016, we in Estonia, we had 30 commercials that were sending a positive message to the young people. It's good to be a mom, it's good to be a dad, first, second, third child. It's amazing because, thank you, because the governments are running campaigns for the things that are in the public interest. So you have all kinds of campaigns. Wear a seatbelt, don't drink and drive, don't smoke, eat more broccoli, name it. But also it's good to say it's good to be a mom or a dad, and that kind of a message to have for younger mothers, age 25, 30, 35, 38, to the fathers, urban people, rural people, all kinds of it. So yes, we need to touch the hearts and minds, and there are plenty of measures. And at the end of the day, this is a very, very, very noble cause. Every life matters.
In Australia, you would confirm what I was saying, is it different?
How do we change culture, sorry?
Yeah.
So I think it comes from giving people the information, actually reminding them what they're missing and the very private cost we pay, but also the very public cost we pay. You need to give them the numbers in the news, evening news, in the finance reports. We need to see birth rate graphs alongside the workforce participation graphs, declining public health outcomes. And I think once people have these compelling numbers in front of them, they can really, I guess, put a value on what the job that families around them are doing. But for me, sometimes it just comes back to we need to really change the language we use around caregiving. You know, as a mum in Australia, I've had people sort of say to me, oh, so you're having some time off children, or you're having a rest at home. Oh, what a luxury. You know, oh, how boring, I could never do that. It's quite derogatory, and I think if we can really just, on an individual level, focus on just the words that we're using that really inform our attitudes and beliefs to parents and families around us, that I think that's where cultural change, the seed of cultural changes as well.
So we see very clearly that cultural change comes with personal decisions and the decision to take as a community. After listening to Stephen Shaw, it's not only about having more children, it's about having children at all. We have 2 minutes left. What's your takeaway message, Virginia? What in 15 seconds? What do you want to tell us?
Don't get me wrong, policy is so important. That's our emergency response, that's our ambulance. But the long-term treatment is inoculating culture and society with an appreciation of caregivers, the work they do, the reality of that work in families. You know, I think we like the idea of mothers and you know, it makes us feel good to know that we've got time for their families. But what are we actually willing to do? What are business leaders willing to do? What are governments willing to do? On an individual level, what are the sacrifices we're willing to make to actually achieve that? I mean, that is, you know, that's for me what it comes down to.
Thank you, Virginia. Ina, what's your last takeaway message?
Yeah, I believe it is very important to let people access to first-hand information about parenting and family life, because it's very much helpful to gain confidence to start a family and maybe gain positive image for parenting. That's my message.
Thank you, Ina. Last word.
Final message. Love your wives, love your husbands, love your children. Nothing in your lives is going to make you more happy than your children. So let your family grow. That is going to be your legacy 100 years from now. You know, your children, your grandchildren, your grandchildren. Just as a final wrap-up, each and every one of us in this room, 10 generations back, we have 2,046 ancestors. And 10 generations is not much, it's 300, it's 3 or 4 lifetimes. Imagine what these people, these 2,046 people were going through. Their tears, their hopes, their prayers, their difficult moments, but they were keep moving. So this is it. This is our moment, and yeah, I wish you all the best. I wish you a lot of children. It's a deeply personal decision. If you don't want to do it, it's fine. It's okay. It's a personal choice, but it's amazing, amazing to be a parent. Thank you.
This is very good guidance for the choices that we face. Now it's time for lunch. I'm the bearer of good news. Lunch is served. We will see you here on time at 2 o'clock. Thank you for this great panel.